Yes, now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Rants YouTube channel. It's time to talk Monday Night Raw. And you know what? This week I'm quite satisfied. I'm actually quite happy. I mean, my main critiques from the two previous weeks was that we got like 3 matches and like a shit ton of segments. A lot of the segments that didn't really go anywhere. They definitely improved on that this week. We had 5 matches and they all quite had a story behind them. And yes, we had segments, but not dragged out. Nothing that didn't mean anything, do you know what I mean? So let's start with the opening segment, right? Obviously, you know they're going to open and close with a segment, right? That's Monday Night Raw, right? They're here for the drama at the end of the day because they are on Netflix. We opened up with Seth Rollins coming out again. All the little goons and the masks came out, and immediately you kind of assume the worst because of what happened last week. But no, they were just kind of there as security. It wasn't as bad. Seth came out saying, you know, he was the originator of the Vision, and now he's going to be the man who kills the Vision, right? It wasn't Paul Heyman's idea, and he's going to tear down anyone associated with Paul Heyman, right? And that's why he stomped down Paul Heyman. He said he doesn't care if Braun's injured, if Bronson's injured, Logan and Austin are going to get it as well, right? And that's when Paul Heyman comes out. Paul Heyman returns, right? All beaten up, his face is still bruised, he's got cuts on his nose. You know Paul Heyman, he plays the character well. He's got grown out beard, he looks tired as fuck, pale, you know, like Paul Heyman plays his role well, and he looked fragile and hurt, and that's when he kind of just went on the same track that he's been going at and pierced it. FAFO, you decided to attack me. FAFO, FAFO, kept getting more passionate until he said FAF5, and out comes the one man associated with Paul Heyman that Seth Rollins has not beaten up, that Seth Rollins might actually have a problem with, and that is Brock Lesnar. And immediately I'm assuming, okay, Seth's going to be Brock Lesnar's WrestleMania opponent, which immediately isn't so bad, because if you've heard the rumours about Brock and Paul not wanting Brock to lose at Mania, that's not going to be beneficial if we're going to have Brock and Oba, because we don't need Oba losing to Brock. Granted, we don't need Brock losing to anyone, but it would be much more helpful to have Oba beat Brock. And the same goes for Gunther, right? So this immediately put a bit less concern on it for me, because like Seth has been around it, he's established. If Seth loses to Brock at Mania, yes, it wouldn't be the preferred decision, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. Do you know what I mean? So immediately I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Brock comes out, beats up all the goons. It's actually mental. And in fact, the way he was throwing some of them around, he caught one and just chucked them on the steps with no regard. I'm not convinced he hasn't murdered someone, because that was brutal. But when he gets in the ring with Seth, obviously Seth is still not cleared, so we weren't sure what was going to happen. Is Brock going to brutalize him, and this is going to be like a WrestleMania 34 build-up between Brock and Roman, and it's going to be like, oh, he hit an injured man, we don't know if Seth's going to make it to Mania, and then he does. No. Then the music hits. Oba Femi, who everyone's wanted. The second Paul and Brock announced that Brock was going to have an open challenge, everyone was chatting Oba Femi. Everyone's wanted Oba Femi, and the only thing that's kind of been stopping it is that maybe Brock might not lose at Mania, and we don't want Oba to lose to Brock Lesnar. Or some people just think it's too soon. Oba Femi just coming up from NXT. Bearing in mind, he wasn't necessarily undefeated in NXT, you know. He'd lost to Tony D'Angelo, he'd lost to Ricky Sainz, right? Something it's kind of a big jump to come to the main roster, squash legend like The Miz and Johnny Gargano and Rusev, and then go to WrestleMania and beat Brock Lesnar. But it's the perfect push, do you know what I mean? And to be honest, looking at how Oba Femi handled this, right, because Brock was stunned. Brock did not know what to do, right? Brock, you could tell there was legit concern there. So he stares down Rollins, chases Rollins out of the ring. Rollins isn't trying to mess with that, right? He knows, right? He's injured. He's not going to try and mess with it. The second Brock's turned away, Oba Femi's there, launches Brock up with ease, by the way. It's not like when other wrestlers try to pick up Brock and it's a bit of a struggle. With ease, I know Brock probably jumped and pushed himself up as well, but the fact Oba Femi could comfortably pop up powerbomb and hit the fucking fall from grace on Brock Lesnar like it's nothing is mental. We were going on about how he did it to Rusev, and that was insane. Brock Lesnar's insane. Now, I know he's not prime Brock Lesnar size, but he's still fucking huge man, especially for late 40s, mid to late 40s. To be that size is freakish, and Oba Femi just launched him like it was nothing. So later on in the night, they then confirmed officially that we're getting Brock Lesnar Oba Femi at WrestleMania, and I just Oh, if there was ever a cooler way, because the swerve through it, they made him think, okay, Brock's going down to Seth Rollins' route. And then out comes Orbat to protect Seth Rollins, and now they're doing the match. It was so cool. That was done. And there was no extra bullshit. There was no, like, extra stare downs and complications. It was literally Brock came out, beat some people up, Orbat came out and outmatched him. And that was it. That's all they needed to set up the match. And it's fantastic. It works perfect. But now, Brock has got another 4 weeks till Mania that he's going to show up to Monday Night Raw for. So I wonder what he's going to do. Is he going to try and attack over Femi? Are they going to give him one-on-one matches on the lead up to Mania, make him look strong? God knows what they're actually going to do, but I'm interested. And let's follow down the Vision story, shall we? So later on, Paul Heyman was backstage with Logan Paul and Austin Theory, and they were like, oh, don't worry, we're going to get Seth as well. And that's when Paul just stressed, no. That's what Seth wants. Seth wants to divide and conquer. That's why Bronson's out. Obviously, he's not responsible for their injuries. But he knows right now the Vision's weaker than ever. He says, don't let him get to you. You need to have success, because then we have power. Once you have the tag team titles, you can then go for singles titles. Power means everything, because no one is helping with, and PS isn't helping with. So he sent Austin Theory and Logan Paul to get after the tag team titles and get it no matter what. Whether that means beating them up, beating them in one-on-one action, beating them in tag team action. I like how real Paul Heyman's been here. And it's just like that. It's been set up. Next week, we'll have a tag team match, the Usos versus the Vision, Austin Theory and Logan Paul. Non-title, important to stress that, which probably means the Vision's going to win. That's probably going to set up a match. Maybe at Mania. I don't know, though, because the Usos are getting involved with Roman's feud and CM Punk, right? But they are also involved with the Vision, so God knows what they're actually going to do at Mania. So we'll see what happens in next week's match, which I can only imagine is going to be a Vision victory. And then we'll see what they say after that. We'll see what the Mania build-up might be. But let's talk about the Usos. Let's talk about those tag team titles, right? So they showed up earlier on in the show with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns comes out. He's cab, he's personal driver, and he addressed his Usos. He said, "Well done last week. You did the right thing, right?" And then he grabbed the cameraman and he said a message. He said, "To all my bloodline." That includes everyone. That is Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa, Tala Tonga. That is Jacob Fatu. That is The Rock, if you will, right? You should do the same. You should go after Punk. And he says you've got before Mania and you've got after Mania. But Mania weekend, he's mine. Don't touch him, right? So in a way, he is sending the bloodline after CM Punk, like CM Punk said. But in a way, he's not, you know. Like the Usos have been saying, this is family business. Roman's got his own business with Punk. But he's not going to let Punk get to him, right? And the Usos were later faced backstage with LA Knight, who was like, look, obviously our back is in that. And you see what the Vision said out there. They've said our names. So I just want to make sure we're cool, because I see you with Roman Reigns and I see you falling out with CM Punk. And if that bloodline of old comes back, I'm not going to be on your side. I just want to let you know that. And that's when, you know, they were just like, well, no, this is family business, you know. We cool, but like, we had to do that last week. So he shakes hands with Jimmy. Jay refuses to shake, and that leads to a bit of a stare-off between LA Knight. So it's interesting, because when the bloodline dynamic starts to come back, Jimmy's a bit more brainish, you know, and Jay is a lot more aggressive and not trusting anyone. I'm actually so interested to see where the Usos actually go, because with Roman mentioning everyone in the bloodline, I feel like we are going to get a bloodline reunion, but like a proper one. Like a big, massive, you get everyone. You get Roman, Jimmy, Jay, Jacob, Tama, Solo, Tonga, Tala, maybe even The Rock, and then eventually we'll just get one big, like, Samoan Battle Royal or some shit. Like, that would be so cool. And we might as well talk about it while we're here, right? Roman Reigns, CM Punk was the closing segment. And I felt like they've let CM Punk get the last laugh now. I mean, Roman Reigns got the first one, you know, when he's like, because I hate you. CM Punk got the one last time, like, I'm going to bury you next to your father. Here we are 2 weeks later, right? And it was Roman Reigns' turn. He comes out to the loudest pop you have heard that night. Everyone got a great pop. It was a great crowd. But I don't know if I trust it, because WWE have been known to add in piping crowd noises in the past, and I feel like they've done it a lot recently, because they've been getting called out on social media. Like, it sounded like this on the episode, but when you heard it live in the arena, it was so much different. So I don't know whether they're faking the crowd noises, if they're turning them up or turning them down at certain points. But from what we got, that was a good crowd, right? And Roman got the pop, and he was drinking it in, and he's just like, yeah, I'm still the guy. And both men got major pops, and both men are kind of saying they're the guys. And Roman Reigns just kind of came out and said, it's fine, Punk, we all know your game is to get into my head. There's nothing you can say to get into my head. Call me a part-timer, you know. I don't care. A part-timer just shows the levels I've come to. You should get to know what the major players in this game do. Ask your wife, which is ironic, right? Because AJ Lee is kind of a part-timer. I mean, now she's coming back a bit more recently, but she was. Do you know what I mean? But that's also digging at CM Punk saying his wife is more successful than him, which I don't know, but fair point. It's no secret I'm with Roman Reigns on this feud, you know. I'm not a hater of CM Punk. I'm hit or miss with him. But especially when it comes to Roman Reigns, I'm backing Roman on this 1,000,000% because Roman Reigns brought that company up levels. And if you say it was anyone else other than Roman Reigns, you're objectively wrong, right? In my opinion. I know opinion means it should be subjective, but I just think it's so painfully obvious that Roman Reigns was a difference maker in WWE. Anyways, CM Punk still just tried to get into Roman's head, tried to outmatch him and all this sort of stuff, saying like, no, this is my ring. Look how many people like me, and it's not going to make a difference in Mania. I'm going to beat you at Mania because I'm the better man. And then when Roman tried to leave because nothing phases him, Punk wouldn't let him leave. And Punk was just, again, outmatching him. I'm the alpha. I'm the guy here. Yeah, you don't leave till I say it. And both men had decent points, but I definitely think Roman got the better of it this time because, yes, Punk is naturally better on the mic, so we can expect Punk to naturally get the better words out, but I think Roman did himself a good job. Mentioning his wife, mentioning how that's how the big players play, mentioning how CM Punk is in the main event because CM Punk couldn't main event a European house tour, which is true because I went there. The main event was Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre. CM Punk was mid-card, right? He wasn't even the opener, he was mid-card, right? So that's true. It's not necessarily a dig at Stardom, but like if Roman Reigns ever did the tours, Roman Reigns was the main event. Do you know what I mean? So it is kind of true. And I'm surprised Roman didn't bring it up, but like CM Punk literally defended his world heavyweight title in his hometown and he wasn't even the main event. And I know you're probably going to say, oh, but it's Elimination Chamber. I have to put the Elimination Chamber first because it's an important gimmick that leads to WrestleMania. Yes, but let me just remind you, what was it? Royal Rumble 2023. Roman Reigns defended his undisputed WWE Universal Championship against Kevin Owens at Royal Rumble. In the main event, that meant the Women's Rumble and the Men's Rumble were not ahead of Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns, Kevin Owens, you know, the night when Sami turned on Roman, that was the main event. And in Chicago, and that wasn't even in his hometown. God knows where it was, right? If it wasn't his hometown, fair enough, but I don't think it was, right? CM Punk, in his hometown, on a lesser show, not much of a lesser show, but a lesser show, didn't main event, right? And I know it technically means nothing, but it would have been a cool thing that I think Roman Reigns could have used, but he didn't. And eventually, none of these things managed to get in the head of Punk either, because Punk is the guy who talks the talk. Roman is the guy who walks the walk. Despite mentioning his wife not being the main eventer and like saying Roman's better, it was when Roman actually attacked CM Punk physically. When he said, Punk, I didn't want to bring this up, but we're just going to address the truth. You're not quicker than me. You're not stronger than me. You're not better looking than me. You can't beat me. Because the truth is, you're holding that title, but you bring everyone else down. Because the truth is, you're just old. And he was about to say CM Punk is washed, but before he could even say that, he got dug by CM Punk. And CM Punk kicked off. Everyone came out and removed him. And Roman Reigns is laughing. You think, Roman, get back up, get your lift back. No, because CM Punk has been happy as out that he's been getting into Roman's head. When he came out after Roman and got a just as loud a pop and got everyone like loving him, right? CM Punk loves that because he thinks he's in the head of Roman. That's why he mentioned his father. That's why he keeps mentioning that he's a part-timer. That's why he keeps mentioning how he needs the bloodline to help him. Roman got in Punk's head and Roman just outplayed Punk at his own game because that is Punk's strength, is the mic skills. And I thought that was genius. I thought it was genuinely genius and it actually excites me. Like normally, like, what's it? It's been like 5-6 weeks of promo build up now, like, and I thought they did a brilliant job. You know, 5-6 weeks of promo build up might not be exciting for some people, but they have made me excited. That is fair play, and I think next time they have one, it's going to be CM Punk's last word. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're rotating. Roman Reigns had the first cool promo, then it was CM Punk having the last word last time. This time it was Roman. And Roman can hang on the mic with CM Punk. I'm not afraid to say CM Punk's probably better on the mic than Roman because that is his skill. But Roman is like top tier. He's literally up there. Like we're talking like Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson. Do you know what I mean? And when it comes to in-ring, I think Roman Reigns beats CM Punk any day. And if you disagree, shut up. Right? Especially now. I think in their primes, okay, maybe there was an argument for CM Punk, but especially at this time, especially with how old CM Punk is, Roman Reigns is definitely better in ring. So yeah, I am excited for that. But let's actually get into some of the matches now. So one of the matches we had, the first match out, was the original El Gran Americano versus El Gran Americano, which is mental because I thought they were going to have this one-on-one match. Well, first we all thought they were going to have it at Mania, and finally the big storyline was going to be over, they might get unmasked or whatever. No. And then we thought it was going to happen one-on-one at some AAA thing. But they're just doing it on Monday Night Raw now, which just seems mental, but okay. And it was a funny botch during the match because Chad Gable, the original El Gran Americano, his singlet ripped right on his arse crack, and you could see his like little black panties that he wears just to protect himself in case something does rip, and thankfully he had those on, because I think I heard like a few of the crowd laughing. Commentators didn't mention it. He never tried to hide it. The guy just, if anything, he bent over and perched his arse more. Quite an entertaining match. The guys are good in the ring, and you can tell. But eventually, due to some shenanigans, thanks to Ryo and Bravo was able to sneak in the ring, slip the metal plate under El Gran Americano's mask, and that meant when Original went to the top rope and hit that diving headbutt onto his head, it actually hurt Original even more because the metal plate was there, which doesn't make sense. It should hurt both equally, let's be honest. But El Gran Americano was able to turn it over and get the pin and the win in a proper heel way against original El Gran Americano, which I can only imagine means it's not over, and they might run it back at Mania, or they might run it back in AAA. But it was an entertaining match nonetheless. I wasn't bored, and that's what I appreciate about this episode of Monday Night Raw. Usually, like, there's some matches where you're quite bored. I was not bored any second during this show, so that was a good sign. The next match was AJ Lee defending her Women's Intercontinental Championship against Bayley. In a surprisingly decent match, because Bayley's known to botch a time or two. She can put on a banger with anyone she wants, but she can also botch at times, you know what I mean? And AJ Lee has still kind of got ring rust. So when this, in my opinion, was one of the best matches AJ Lee's had since she's come back. And I don't care if she was in War Games, or if she was in the mixed tag team match at WrestlePalooza, or she had some people said a good match against Becky at Chamber. I did not think so. In terms of in-ring performance, this was probably one of the best, or the cleanest AJ Lee has looked. And you can tell this is why they're doing it, so she can have a good build-up for Mania. She had a decent match against Bayley. I think the finish was good, especially the way like AJ locked in the submission and then wrenched it even further, making the submission look real, not like these fake wrestlers who just like lock in the chin lock like that and then they go, oh, and then either pass out or die or tap out, do you know what I mean? She actually made it look painful by wrenching even more. So AJ Lee retains, but what else did you expect? Becky comes out after to attack her, and we just know they're running this back at Mania. I don't actually know what the plan is for Mania, whether it's to have AJ win or to have Becky win, because AJ's beating Becky every step of the way, right? So her defending this title frequently, immediately, right after Chamber, in between WrestleMania, might just be their little run for AJ, because they're going to get the belt back to Becky, so Becky can finally get one back on AJ Lee after everything AJ's done to Becky. Or if this is just like to end the feud and AJ is just going to be a long, like, defending champion, and she's going to get the last laugh and she's going to beat Becky Lynch and it's all going to be over at Mania. And I feel like that would make sense, because if AJ was to get the last laugh, she shouldn't have won a Chamber, in my opinion. You know what I mean? The only reason she should have won a Chamber is to have this little run, make the feud exciting for Mania, and have Becky lose it at Mania. Do you know what I mean? But, you know, it is what it is. They have their ways of doing things for a reason. You got to trust them sometimes. And we had 2 Intercontinental title matches. So the Intercontinental titles that were once like never defended are now actually getting defended more than the United States titles, which is mental. Penta came out to issue an open challenge. Well, not really an open challenge. Adam Pearce would arrange the opponent, but obviously they're trying not to say open challenge to avoid copying the United States title division, but it's essentially what it is. But I think if there's anyone to do it with, it's Penta, because Penta, like, you know, a Mexican wrestler doesn't always speak English. He's better in ring than he is character and mic work. And I'm not doubting him on character and mic work, but I'm just saying for now. Do you know what I mean? We've not got any immediate storylines. So having Dragon Lee be his opponent was perfect. 2 luchadors who put on an incredible match. And I have to say, probably my match of the night. I say probably, absolutely was my match of the night. They got a holy shit chant. They got a this is awesome chant. It was just perfect. And Dragon Lee's moveset is just insane. I mean, he has his titles clash now. I'm pretty sure AJ passed that down to him. He has whatever that fucking move is that he does. I'm a bit disappointed that Penta doesn't keep the Penta Driver as a finisher. Like, he uses it now and everyone kicks out of it. I quite like the Penta Driver. I know the Mexican Destroyer is a bit more over, so fair enough, but I think you can use both. And the way he hit that Mexican Destroyer and Dragon Lee sold it was just perfect. I mean, hitting it rapid off the ropes and then Dragon Lee rebounding up, bouncing off the ropes and on the floor. Perfect selling. Like, that felt like I was watching an AEW match. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. And anyways, after the fact, Dragon Lee was spotted backstage with Javon Evans. Here comes Kofi Kingston again to try and convince Javon Evans to join the New Day. Javon just kind of went, no. And don't diss my boy Dragon Lee, do you know what I'm saying? And that's when Grayson Waller comes up to Kofi again, like, I don't know what you see in him, do you know what I mean? Because Grayson's a bit intimidated that Kofi Kingston's trying to extend an olive branch to someone else. And Kofi kind of just turned to Grayson and said, well, a lot of people say the same thing about you, Grayson. What do we see in you? You know what I mean? And that's when Danhausen shows up, has his funny little segment of trying to join the New Day, coming up with his own chants instead of like Booty-O's, you have like Danhausen cereal or whatever with like teeth marshmallows. Not Dragon League. Danhausen did his thing. Cursed another person. Cursed both Grayson Waller and Kofi Kingston. Well, we don't actually know who was cursed. He was trying to curse Kofi, who pushed Grayson in the way, and then both men tried to claim they didn't. They were in the one that gets cursed. God knows what's going to happen. Usually it happens on the night, but it might happen next week. I feel like Danhausen's cursing too many people too quick. Because if he keeps going at this rate, cursing someone every episode of Raw and SmackDown, it's going to take less than a year before everyone's been cursed, and it's not going to mean anything. So I hope they kind of slow it down on that. But I get they're doing the same thing with Oba Femi. They're not really decided on what brand they actually want Danhausen on, which is fair. I do think you should test them on both brands, see where they fit in. I'm starting to think Oba's going to fit in on Monday Night Raw probably a bit more. He's had more matches on SmackDown, but with the competition on Raw, I kind of feel like Oba Femi probably does fit in. And Danhausen probably works on SmackDown better because he's got that storyline going with The Miz. So if you ask me, I think it's already there, but they're probably going to wait till after Mania to just get a bit of a build and see what's going on with that. Do you know what I mean? What else do I need to talk about? There was Natty and Maxie Dupree having their match for the third time. This time it wasn't going to get thrown out, and Natalya ended up winning by tap out, which I think was the correct decision. That allowed Maxine to put up a fight to not kill all of her momentum. They've had to improve and win the Intercontinental title to put some stardom behind her. They didn't want to just squash her, so they put on a lengthy match where Maxine did fight back. But I think the correct decision was to have Natty tap out Maxine Dupree, because it shows that she is a legend for a reason. She's been there. She's nearly 20 years into this game. She should be beating Maxine Dupree, who still is not complete as a wrestler. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was the right decision in my opinion. Are they done with this feud? Maybe. I don't know what else they can really do with it. Natty's proved her point. She should probably move on and do something else. Maxine was spotted backstage, by the way, during some sort of interview. I think it was between Kofi and Javon. But she was sat on the floor, like sulking, and Austin Theory and Logan Paul trying to talk to her. God knows what they were doing there, but I'm sure we'll find out one day. Maybe it means nothing. People say a lot of things happening backstage. Sometimes they might not be fake. Sometimes they're fake. Sometimes they might be staged. Sometimes they might not be. God knows. There's one more match, wasn't there? Yeah, Stephanie Vaquer and Raquel Rodriguez. Obviously, Raquel was sent to just soften up Liv. We've seen plenty of Raquel and Stephanie matches recently, and this was a good one. There was not really many botches from either women. The wrestling has definitely gotten cleaner, and if you've watched my channel for a while, that's been a lot of my criticisms over the last year or so, is that like matches aren't getting as clean. People are rushing things and messing up moves, and I think it was a lot of the problem in the Rumble in the Chambers that things were rushed and it messes things up and it's not as clean. I prefer the cleanness, because you can be fast paced and be clean. You've just got to get your timing right. You know, you've not got to rush into the next move, because your move is athletic anyway. It's going to look quick, so you just need to slow it down on the executions. Do you know what I mean? And the match was clean, and Liv obviously was doing her shenanigans at ringside. They're doing this to distract Stephanie, soften her up. Io Sky came out to help out Stephanie, and they quickly just bulldozed her over the announce desk, and that was it. And then Stephanie rolled up Raquel Rodriguez, and that was it. So I don't actually know what the plan is for Io Sky, because I kind of thought they might go down the route of Asuka and Kairi Sane. But now it looks like she's helping out Stephanie Vaquer. I mean, what are we going to do with that? We're going to do Raquel Rodriguez versus Io Sky at Mania. What would be the point in that? Is Io going to join the triple threat? I really hope. Join the Liv and Stephanie and make it a triple threat match? I really hope not, because that's just recycling ideas from last year. And I know it would add to the match quality, and you don't want to miss Io off of Mania, but you should have thought about that. You should have kept Io and Rio Rhea as a team, and you should have had Raquel win the chamber, and then you could have had everyone involved, but instead, no, you had to have Rhea win the chamber. Idiots. Anyways, one more backstage segment after Bayley lost. She was doubting herself. We've all kind of criticised how they kind of got rid of that crazy, batshit insane gimmick of Bayley's, but she's kind of showing signs of it again. And this time, Lyra was screaming in her face to calm down because she's going to get to Mania, and Lyra's going to get there with her, and they're going to win those tag team titles. And that's when Kyrie and Asuka showed up, and Asuka was blaming them for her losing the gauntlet, and because of Bayley lost the opportunity, Asuka said she wouldn't have fumbled. So now they're not going to ruin their opportunity at getting to Mania. So I can only imagine we're going to have Kabuki Warriors and Lyra and Bayley face off at some point. The winners might get added towards the women's tag team title picture, which is currently held by the Irresistible Forces and is being contested by Alexa Charlotte and Nikki Bella and Brie Bella. We might get a 6-team match. We might get the winners of Bayley and Lyra and the winners of the Bellas and Charlotte and Alexa facing in a triple threat match. God knows what's going to happen, but I'm excited because this episode of Monday Night Raw left a lot more promises than it did in previous weeks. And I'm feeling a bit more positive because everything about Monday Night Raw was good. I don't actually think I could name a bad thing about it, which is very good to say. But that's my opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.